Yo, what's up, guys? It's Jordan. I just wanted to pop on here real quick and do a little trade recap from the MNQ trade we had this morning. We made about $900 on the trade, so just wanted to do a quick recap, giving you guys my thoughts, kind of how I was feeling going through the trade and everything like that. So let's pop into it. So right now, I pulled up MNQ from this morning. I'm on the replay system on TradingView just so we can kind of go through it in, quote unquote, real time here. And so let's take a look here. Is this? Oh, MES doesn't get backed up. Interesting. It only replays the chart I chose. Okay. I didn't know that. Either way, that's fine. We don't need to see both in replay. We'll just kind of go to the same time on ES here as well. I just want to have ES up because you could see the SMT divergence on there. But let's get into this here. So this morning, we're actually doing pretty well to the upside, but we had a I'm not even gonna mark it right now, but we had a higher time frame SMT put in on the daily and the 4 hour, I believe. And so that got put in. You can see we're on the 1 minute right now. You see this inverse. Well, at the moment, it's a normal fair value gap. So we have this fair value gap here. This gets ran through to the downside, gets flipped into, this is now an inverse fair value gap. We love those. We love to play off those. That gets tapped into. This is a beautiful trade. I did not take it this morning. I was kind of butthurt that I didn't grab it, but I was busy with the daily rip show and I just wasn't paying full attention to this, so I didn't get the entry that I wanted. But at the end of the day, it's okay. We found another trade, but it was a beautiful sell model here. If you took a short stop at the highs, it was beautiful, and we actually got a beautiful sell off to those lows. So that was awesome going into the open. This is right into the market open here. So let's keep on going. The trade I actually caught today was to the long side. So there was a really good short model this morning, but I ended up missing it. So wanted to, I was keeping my eyes out for any potential long models, which we did get. So there's the drill at market open, which is looking really nasty. Ooh, yeah, that looks really nasty when you're looking back at it here. But you can see we started to get that bounce, right? You can see if you flip to an hourly, NQ is taking these range lows right here. If you see this, right, this is also you also have like the open of this candle body that's holding, right. The change in the state is actually bearish. Change in the state happened here after this hourly candle closed, but we also have the spot where another change in the state would have been, right? So I was betting that this area might be getting a bounce. Although I'm not going to put, blind orders down there just to buy it, right? I'm not doing that, obviously. So but nice to see a bounce there, and obviously we put in an SMT here. So you can see at these range lows, SMT gets put in, and then you have the same thing right here on ES there. So that's your divergence. That's exactly what I want to see. And on top of that, when you look at the hourly, we're getting high time frame manipulation of those lows, right? When you look at a daily, let's see. Oh, okay, no, curious. I was just curious. We didn't actually manipulate any of the daily lows. So I generally like to see that. As you guys know, if you're on the live stream, I generally like to see manipulation of daily highs or daily lows first, which we saw manipulation of these daily highs for the short model this morning, right? And that was a great trade, but I happen to miss that, right? So what am I looking for? I'm looking for the other side if I don't see what I want to continue the short, which I didn't, right? So going back to the lower time frames here. This is a 5 minute. What time am I on? All right, sorry guys, my replay system was giving me trouble. I don't know what happened. It like skipped back to another time. So we're back at that normal time right after market open into 7 o'clock here. I know we have that SMT already being put in after this bounce here. I know it's not lined up, but on an hourly chart, it's lined up, right? When you go down to lower time frames, it's not going to be quite lined up. So just take what that looks like with a grain of salt. But we get that bounce. This is when I bump down to a 1 minute chart here. So you can see we put in this fair value gap. That's now an inverse. We ran through that and are holding that very well. You could have entered off that with a stop at the lows. That would have been totally fine. I didn't quite enter yet because the market was just really choppy. So I was kind of waiting for a better moment to enter. I really wanted to see, another potential inverse. I wanted to see another inverse for value gap form, and then take that as an entry just so I could kind of time it to where I'm not getting stuck in the chop, even though I ended up sitting in chop just for a little bit. It wasn't too bad this morning, but I definitely sat in the chop just for a little bit. So we were chopping back and forth. We really were just kind of in an unfavorable environment, right? Going back and forth between those fair value gaps, that really can just create a crappy environment to be trading in. So we dipped down to the lows, back into that gap, testing it, held very well. So everything was looking pretty strong. We were just going sideways, right? We were just in sideways consolidation. So getting into that 8 o'clock here. This, I believe, yes. So you can see this inverse we formed right here. Well, as of now, it's a fair value gap. I was waiting. I don't know what it was this morning, to be honest, guys. Sitting in this chop, I wasn't in a position yet. I was just waiting, and I happened to time it pretty well this morning. I kind of got lucky for sure with the timing on this, because I very well could have entered off what? Off this fair value gap, put my entry here, and sat in this chop all morning, right? That's a normal entry for me. But instead, I ended up waiting. The environment was pretty choppy. We actually chopped all morning up until lunch, basically. And then that's when we got the move, which is interesting because, if you guys trade with us every day, that lunch is generally a quiet time. That's generally when we go sideways like this. But instead, today it was the time for things to kind of rocket. So you can see we run back through that. This right here was my entry, I believe. One of these candles, I forget exactly what the timing was on this. This says 803 candle. Oh, yeah. Because I took a starter here. So I took a starter position here. I remember I took 3 contracts, took a starter there. I saw more of what I wanted, which is displacement through that for value gap. We back tested it. And I think that's where I put my ad, is on a back test of that for value gap, because I added 2 at 631.75. That's exactly what I did. So I had this for value gap. Well, now an inverse, right? So we can mark that as an inverse. We have that made. Once we ran through that with all this momentum, I was already in 3 contracts down here. So what did I do? I set a position to buy 2 more contracts to make it a total of 5 at this inverse fair value gap, right? So what happened? Price ended up coming on down to that. Boom. I get tapped in more on my entry. That's right here to 21,631.75. So my average was around this 621.50, give or take. And then so we're in. Let's just put that in. 621. What was it? All right, so that's my average on the position. Stop was at these lows, 25 points. Boom. PT was at this spot. So I marked this spot this morning because we had a 15-minute fair value gap that we made to the downside. So I was thinking that we could get a test back into that. I was initially thinking if we did get back into that, I wanted to try a short over these highs, maybe see an internal SMT over this high with ES, and then get an inverse to the downside and play it to the downside, right? But we didn't actually see that. We got displacement through this here. But let's just let it play out here. So I'm already in all my contracts now. I'm just letting price print. I have a stop at 25 points. My first PT is going to be these highs, because that 15-minute fair value gap, that's when that comes into play. So I definitely want to be trimming into that. I also said I would trim if I saw some sort of like internal SMT that I thought might, play against me. But I didn't end up seeing that, right? So we got pretty close to stopping out. If you guys heard me on Spaces this morning, I was, I said, we're getting really close to my stop here, so just be careful. Ended up getting saved there, ran back through this fair value gap that we made. We already made this inverse, so I can delete that, but we ran back through this fair value gap that we made, turned that into an inverse, and was that first PT hit? No, I didn't hit that yet. So they were kind of blue balling us this morning. There's first PT. So we hit first PT. I have 5 contracts on. I took 4 off, covered majority of the position. And then my next target was the range highs from the overnight. So 116 points on the last contract. That was what that was going to be. Here's where I screwed up today and I left money on the table. What I always do is generally, like when I forgot to mention, when we broke these highs here on MNQ, I moved my stops to break even. So I moved my stops up. No way I could lose on that trade, right? But here's where I went wrong. I should have kept that stop in. Instead, once I took profits, I actually moved my stop up. Let's see exactly where I moved it. I forget. So 650. I moved my stop to 650, and that actually ended up being the like exact spot that they took it to, just to bounce it and let it go higher. So ended up getting stopped in profit, still 30 points in profit. Very happy with that. But had I just kept my initial stop at break even, I would have banked a lot more, because you see how the day played out. I mean, we hit some really big targets to the upside, especially with ES. I don't know. ES is not on the replay here, so you can't really see it updating live with this, but you can see definitely missed out and left some money on the table. But regardless, beautiful trade. Very happy with the performance this morning, especially in a choppy range. I mean, volatility was definitely a little bit lower today. I don't know if you guys noticed. So that VIX is really what tells me how to size every day, right? When VIX is over 20, I know I don't really need to size 5 contracts. In fact, I actually can't, because in dollar amount, I'm taking too much risk majority of the time on any trades I'm looking to take, right? The risk is just too much, but I can take 3 contracts, right? And that's where you just got to know your sizing and know what VIX is doing. Today, VIX was trading around that $15, $14, right? Or maybe it was 15, 16 bucks. I don't remember exactly, but it was trading around that range, right? A little bit lower than 20, still higher than we've had, going into like end of 2024. It's still higher than we had, but definitely not nearly as high as the volatility was this past week, past 2 weeks. It's been ridiculous, right? We've had ranges of hundreds of points. We've had one candlestick on the 5-minute could be 100 points, 60 to 100 points. It's ridiculous when VIX is over 20, right? So it's just something to keep note of. Pay attention to that when you guys are trading. And don't ignore it, because it can very much make or break your trading with the sizing. But long story short, we kept flying. Ended up hitting that price target, which was 737.75. I was calling it out all day in Spaces. If you were in Spaces, you heard me talking about it. I wanted to see that price target. We ended up getting it, and that was it's a beautiful day. It was just a little bit sad that I wasn't in that last runner to get that price target of 116 points. It's beautiful, and we ended up rocketing even more. And then the day turned out pretty wild. I think we pulled back a bit. I don't know exactly what happened into the close. There's the close right there. So it looks like we chopped pretty much into the close, and that was a wrap for the day. So that's a great Tuesday. I generally don't trade the first trading day of the week. Usually the first trading day of the week is obviously Monday. But today, since it's a little bit of a shorter week, it was Tuesday. And I went into today really not expecting to take any trades. And that's the best way to be, right? We go in expecting to not take a single trade until I see everything that I want happening right in front of me, right? When I see clarity, when I see models that I want to see that are very clearly speaking to me and telling me, hey, I'm doing this. Are you going to hop on board? Unless I see that, there's just really no reason for me to participate. And that's the mindset I have going into every day, right? I'm not that hungry for trades. Of course, I love trading. We want to make money. We want to make trades. But I want to follow my plan more, and I want to improve as a trader more than I want to make money, right? Because that's what we're really here to do. And that's how we get money to fall in our laps, right? If we think about money all day long, we actually make none. But if we just take action on our plan, execute, perform, very well, and just execute our plan the best we can and follow our rules, money will end up falling in our lap, right? So I'm really just trying to adopt that mindset and keep it moving with that mindset every single day. But I appreciate the whole crew tuning in. If you did, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing, and tune into the stream. We're live pretty much every morning. I've been having some troubles, lately, just with the stream and network issues and bunch of crap, but we're getting it figured out. So pop on the stream. I do all my trades live right in front of you. You guys can see, all the entries and everything like that. So pop in. We'd love to have you. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Have a good one, guys.